Hello, this is episode 128 of Live Drawing. Um Tonight we will be working on page 48 of Undersea Hero. I did finish page 47 and posted that on social media. This was kind of a one-page story that we started last week on this very stream. We have these Krill Force that are suffering after an event that I don't want to spoil. And this is our little main character for this one little one-off story, and they're just mortified by what they see. And then we have a 3-panel progression where we have a close-up, and there's this hand reaching out to him. The hand touches him, and then we see that it is just a severed hand, and our friend here runs away from the horrors of war for kids. At page 48, obviously we've had this moment of breath where we don't know what's going on with the other characters that we saw, a page ago. So they've just kind of been standing around. So I like to just go right at it and have them just standing around. And then they look at each other. And because you're reading left to right, you'll see these characters first, the Spongeman, and then you'll see Undersea Hero. And then the action is they're looking, and then he waves. So you see them looking, wave, and then the reaction is they jump him. And Undersea Hero asks Krakus for help, and Krakus says, "I don't fight to save humans." And then you see a balloon come from off screen from Undersea Hero that asks, "What about friends?" And Krakus looks at him and reconsiders, and then joins the fray. So we've got a lot of characters on this page, so we're going to just really get right into it. I barely started it the other day. There's already some things I'd like to fix here, just because it looks like I was in a hurry on this panel, but we'll get to work. I'm pretty tired, and I had a long day, so if we could at least get this top panel penciled, I'd feel really good about this. I have our prelim here. Let's set this up so that we can see it. And I've actually I got some great comics recently. I actually went to the store for the first time in a while, and I ordered a couple. I'll show off this one I got from my friend Cody Lockwood. This is an issue of X-Men. Hello, Bollinger family. We're working our way through. We're on page 48, so we are getting there. Just showing off this cool book I got in the mail from Cody Lockwood. He does sales of comics on Facebook, and he will put this like a big thread. And this was one of those issues I picked up when I was a kid. This came out in '95, so I was 11. Colossus is and always was my favorite X-Man, and this was signed by the creator, and had a meager price tag of $5. It was signed by Paul Smith, the artist, the penciler on the book. It was inked by Matt Ryan, who inked a lot of the Andy Kubert run, and it's just a delightful story at this stage in Colossus's arc, where he was still hanging out with Magneto's acolytes. Blockbuster ads that tells you when this came out. East Coast Comics. I never ordered from East Coast Comics when they had these ads in comic books, but I did order from New England Comics when I, didn't have a store near me. And then there was another one, like something like American Entertainment, I think was another one that I did order like dollar comics from, and Mile High Comics. So that was a thing that we used to do before the internet, was order comic books out of a comic book. Us old folks remember. This is a good Krakus page. It's one of his character moments, and I really try to write those moments for everyone. Like, everybody gets in this large of a story. I always try to give each character a moment where we define them as either having empathy or not. And while Krakus is a uh, gruff individual at times, I don't know. He's got a hard exterior. He's not a softie, but he does care about his friends, and that's I have some friends in my life where they're not the nicest people, but they really do care, and that's an interesting character dynamic that I think is um, more difficult to portray than the binary of just they're nice or not nice people. And if they're not nice, that means they can't be your friend or that they, aren't a good friend or something. And one of my best friends is a little bit of um, a little bit of a gruff personality sometimes. That kind of nuance I like in my stories. I also bought a Golden Age comic actually. I follow a couple of friends of mine that sell their comics on eBay, and this guy had a Golden Age issue of Airboy marked very cheaply, and then I just followed it, and he gave me an even better deal, so I picked it up. Um, it was a buy it now that I started watching, and the seller, marked it down like an extra 10% or so. So yeah, I'll show that one. I don't drop it. It's a nice reading copy. And it's got a story of the Heap in it where he fights a giant octopus. This is a 75-year-old comic. This came out in 1950. I won't get in trouble for showing the insides because it's public domain at this point by Hillman Publications. But here, this is the story I'm excited to read. This is a character called the Heap, and he is like just this big um, mossy swamp guy. And in this story, he fights a giant octopus. That looks pretty great to me. One of the interesting things about Airboy, the comic strip, is I was on a panel with Joe Sinnott, and I had to like kind of de facto host it with my pal Joe St. Pierre, and we both were asking him questions, and I just asked him who was an artist that you liked or worked with or just knew in comics that you didn't think got as popular as like a Jack Kirby and you thought was like super talented and could have easily um, in an alternate universe been just more had more accolades. And he said Fred Kita, and that has just stuck with me because he was an artist that I saw his name in credits as like an inker a lot of the times. He was kind of a journeyman penciler. He did fill-ins on like Captain America and stuff. And I didn't think much of it. But ever since that panel, I've gone back and revisited his work and really looked at what it was. And I think I've seen some of it because he was from what I don't know if anyone's in the audience is familiar with an artist named Milton Caniff. He was a strip artist who worked on a strip called Terry and the Pirates, which was very popular. And Fred Kita absolutely had like that Milton Caniff style, very highly graphical, lots of ink on the page. Get a little closer so it's easier to see. Our fancy hand crank zoom, super high tech. But there's our. There we go. And Krakus still has this big gold chain that he'll be wearing for the duration of this battle sequence. And I don't explain the chain. He just comes from the casino and has it. So we assume that he bought it or was given it by one of the people that worked there. Long day today. Long day. Hope everyone's doing well. Staying healthy. Pretty much everybody I worked with has been getting sick lately, so I'm hoping I don't catch anything. But who knows? Other than that, I grabbed some dollar books too. I found a couple of sketch covers in the dollar bin. I've been trying not to buy them at cover price lately, just because I have a fair amount here, and I don't feel like I can justify having more blank sketch covers around. I mean, it won't hurt for after Undersea Hero is done, but I have started working on fatcatfunnies.com. I'm going to be uploading a bunch of my comics from when I first started out on there. And that's where I am going to be posting new stories after Undersea Hero. I've decided that I'm going to be posting stuff and publishing it digitally first. And then when it's completed, if there's need of it or desire for people, I'll make some printed books out of stuff. But I decided that's the route I'm going to go going forward with my new stuff. So when I was in college, I used to just make comics and then I would tape them to my door, and that was the only way to read them. I didn't post them anywhere. There was no, it was the beginnings of social media. Facebook was not starting at that point. It hadn't started yet. It would start, like my junior or senior year of college. And I don't know. I want to simplify some stuff, and I want to put out a whole bunch of different types of stories. And I love old anthologies, like those in those Golden Age books, like in that Airboy book. There's like 10 different stories in there, and they're all different genres. There's drama, there's war, there's horror, there's superhero, and that was very common back in the day. I still do have a couple of covers I have to finish this month, and I'm running behind on those, but I have to get them done for friends of mine for their books that are going to launch. So there might be a week where I don't get an Undersea Hero page done so that I can help them. It'll probably be either next week or the following week. I'd like to start them this weekend. But let's just draw some of the Spongemen here. We can have some fun. One of the things I like about the Spongemen is that they're ordinary people, so you don't have to draw like the anatomy down to the muscles being, separated, segmented, all that stuff. They can just be like guys wearing regular shirts. And there are no, in this story, there are no sponge women that you've seen yet, but they will be making an appearance. Right now, I'm just going to block in this character's head, basically. So it's real simple. One thing I'm always cognizant of is where the cheekbones are, because that affects where you have your line of depth on a face. What is a line of depth? Well, a line of depth is where you can put a line on it, and it's the break from, like, let's say where the edge of your cheekbone is back to your jawbone. That's like right there. And that's one of those places to see. Tony Sedani's here. Tony, I've been absolutely loving your drawings of the Simpsons characters. I think those are just delightful. It's been a treat to see those on Instagram. So thank you for posting those up. But thank you, man. Yeah, we're running late, but we are making progress. We're getting to the end of the road on the line art, and I've got several people who are helping me out with finishing the color, so that won't take so long. And I love lettering, so that'll be a treat to do. I really do. I love that part of the process. If people don't know Tony's work, he did a book called Return to Rander. He's done all kinds of. He did an anthology book recently that I picked up. I'm trying to remember what it was. Weird stories. Weird. Yeah, it was. I think that was the last time I saw Tony. Was when I picked that up. It's been a while. But I highly recommend giving him a follow. He's done work on the Tick. He's done all kinds of stuff. I have always liked his work. Get our like cheapest possible mask and snorkel combo, and then we put our little sponge guy just sitting on his head. One of the things I'll be interested to see when we finish this book is doing a big supercut of like all the episodes. How many pages do I have left? Let me just check I think it's like. Here's my pile of prelims. These are most of the ones we've already done. You can see the big giant pile. Let me see here. That's page 49. Or man, it's so weird being so close to the end of this. $56, yeah. So we have 4, 5, 6. So we're on 49. We have 7 pages to go. That is a home stretch, my friend. And I do want to go back and make some updates to 2 of the 2-page spreads. So, but those won't be full redraws. Those will just be some cleanup work. But seven full pages. How about that for the line art? And then we'll be tackling the colors with our help of our friends. With and pal Jeff said he would help. Brian said he'd lend a hand. We'll get those done pretty darn quick. And like I said, I love lettering, so it'll just be fun. I wish I had lettered these on the board, looking back. But future books will just be lettered on the board. I've made that decision. Seriously, man, it has been a long road. and I know it's late, and I'm sorry, but I'm proud of the work, and I hope, I don't wanna presume, I hope it will bring people some joy and a laugh, when it shows up in their mailbox. When I finish the line art, I'll send out the, surveys for everybody. I think I have one reward I have to draw. It's that field guide, which I can probably knock that down out in a day or two. But all of the watercolor rewards are painted. All of the black and whites I think are done. Um, I got to do all the remarks, obviously, and then like the box doodles as they come in. And I had some friends kindly volunteer to help me pack and ship some stuff. So my pal, my pals Jenny and Jay offered to help with some of that stuff. So, which that's like not a fun part. Like just that's it's slightly better than helping your friend move, I imagine. There we go. We blocked it out a little bit. Okay. And if we remember our light source, it's up over here. It's coming kind of down this way. And I guess you could argue that there's a secondary light source over here if you want to add a little bit of backlighting, if you wanted to do a 2-point lighting. I'm not a huge fan of doing that for just a standard panel like this. That's basically in neutral lighting. I love doing it when it's got like a more exaggerated or purposeful lighting source situation. This guy's nose is just kind of straight. It's like a straight line almost. And this is where we get this is where I have to get more of the cartooning in, because if I just like let it, if it's not exaggerated enough, it'll just look silly. So exaggerate the chin a little bit. Oh, thank you so much. Hands, I think we've done quick hand tutorials, but they do take lots of practice, especially just learning how they move. Um, if you want to make it easy, you could always have characters that don't have hands. They could have, flippers or claws, or they could always be wearing mittens. I think I've said it before. I always just try to simplify it, simplify the hands, the geometric shapes. There's a very funny page coming up that I'm hoping I can get away with it. I don't know. People are going to look at this one page and be like, that's the joke. Or they're going to think it's the funniest thing they've ever read. Move his mouth over a little bit. One of the really dumb jokes that just shows up over and over because, like, why not? Is the fact that the Spongemen don't have scuba gear. They have just a mask and snorkel, so they have to keep swimming back to the surface to get air. Absolutely, yeah. When I'll be having a scanning day in the not too distant future when I'll be scanning all the pages. Go like this, like this. Light source is here, so what we can do is start spotting our, because they're wearing like all black wetsuits. Just start spotting where the one of the things to remember is that when you have something closer, like if you're putting a shaded area or two concentric shaded areas next to each other with a light source, is that the one that's closer to the light source has more of the shiny part, and then the one that's further away has less of it. And that's also an easy way to like force perspective if you want. You don't have to get it 100% right, but if you can get it close and exaggerate it a little, it can give your drawing a little bit of bounce to it. So I remember what that silly thing looks like. I have to grab one of my older pages as reference. Of course, my headphones are not helping. There we go. Good. I don't have to dig too far. Yeah, they just have regular belts, little utility belts. This was one of our spreads. So they just have a regular belt buckle. And I think that there's maybe the letter C on them, but I don't think so. I think they're even cheaper than that. I think he just gets the bulk utility belts from the hardware store. I don't think he even gets them custom embroidered or anything. The correlator does not buy the best, or he spares as much expense as he possibly can. Not quite the opposite of spares no expense, but very close. We can just draw pretty normal arms. We don't have to like cut them in. We can just show the different sections. And since the light's over there, we'll probably just, we'll have some denotation of where the light's coming from. Sorry for the Let's see, is that better? Yeah, that's better light. It's not quite as reflective. Shoulder goes behind. Of course, it breaks twice. There we go. And I try not to draw all of the spongemen looking the same, so we will we'll make this guy a little paunchier. Give him like a rounder nose, a bit more nose to him. And then if this is where the cheekbone meets the orbital bone, and we'll just round it out. We won't even show that. You can't even really see that he has a jawline. That's what we'll do. Show there's a little chin. I haven't done any of the characters with like their gut hanging out, like if their shirt's a little too small. We'll just make him a little punchier. Still got to show where the stuff connects. That's where the arm will be. Ugh. What side is his? His is on the same side. He's got the same side snorkel. I actually saw my mask and snorkel in storage the other day. I love going snorkeling. It's one of those things that you can just float along. It's relaxing. See some of the fish. It's pretty cool. Bend his belt. I think his stomach's kind of like pushing the belt out. And then we have our little sponge just sitting on his head. They're just fun to draw. I'm wondering what kind of like fluffy cottony stuff would work best to make a sponge to sit on people's heads, the little arms. I cannot tell you how happy I will be when this book finally goes to the printer. That'll be the day where I order a pizza, sit on the couch, and just have the biggest exhale of my life. belly button. They have like the little short gloves. It's 8:41, my goodness. Showing off the Airboy comic. Got a number of people in tonight, which is nice. Sorry for the late notice. I did pick up the all-in Aquaman, the new Aquaman. Haven't read it yet. These are the two sketch covers that I got for $1 a piece. The Fantastic Four, and then Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. Got a giveaway comic that reprints the Golden Age Batman origin, which looked pretty cool. This was kind of neat. Some of the independently published issues of Martial Law, the Pat Mills, Kevin O'Neill yarn. That's some Mike Allred goodness out of the dollar bin. These are all for $1, you know. Some unexpected, nice horror anthology. I buy this kind of stuff all the time. I know a lot of comic fans don't like it, but you know, because they tear it off for the returns back in the day. But this was just a 1966 issue of Strange Adventures, so a science fiction anthology. But yeah, those are some of the dollar books I snagged. Gives me something to read. I didn't get to draw it all today, so that's when I'm a little rusty. So glad we're just penciling, so I can just erase later the stuff that I want to redraw. There we go. And you can see there's very much a fair amount of variation between what I originally sketch out and what ends up on the page. This is just to give me a guide, especially for the blocking out of the spacing and the pacing, the acings. Hello. I don't know what you're asking. Are you something? I think you're asking if I'm mangaka. So if you're asking if someone that makes manga, no, I make American comics. I've been doing it for a long time. I think mangaka refers to an artist that makes manga. I am getting tired, so good thing we only have a few characters left on this panel. I had a day this week where I had to get up at like 4:30 on a work day and get there super early. So still catching up from that for sure. I can see where some of my anatomy is starting to like mush together. Hey, Michael, our friend Michael DeFonte is here. Comic author, artiste, and friend. Now, some of the variations in like the facial expressions, I'll really define more in pen. I'm really just giving myself the notes for where stuff goes and where the major shadow areas are. Himesh says, keep up. Amazing artwork, by the way. Thank you very much. Thanks for popping over from YouTube. I feel like with TikTok getting blocked later this month in the US, that there might be a surge in like TikTok short and Instagram reel users. Michael with his signature opening that we will highlight every time he does it from now on. I think we did it last time. I think that has to be part of our show. When Michael pops in, we share the hope everyone well, and if not, I hope things get better for you. That's the kind of vibe we go for here. If stuff's not good, we hope it gets better. And it's true. I want people to do well and be happy. whether they like comics or not. Occasionally, we get people that pop in that aren't comic people that don't read comics or anything. So I was trying to today. I had to describe some artwork to some people, and the experience of looking at artwork and how when I look at my drawings, I just don't see it the way other people see it. Like I see the construction, I see the whether or not I executed things the way I wanted to. Um, I don't see it with the fresh eyes that other people do. So sometimes when I'm really kind of dealing with my own artistic shortcomings, I'll do a rough and then I'll just put it in a drawer for a few days and try to forget what I was trying to do. And then when I take it out, it'll be like I'm almost collaborating with someone else if I've forgotten it enough. I think there needs to be one over here. We're gonna have one here, one here. Oh, that's what I was having him do. Okay, yeah, I was having him yawn. So what we need to do is we need to bring this hand up and have it look like he's yawning. Because I was using that silly gag of the fact that the sponges pantomime, or the people pantomime what the sponges are doing. So you have the sponge with his mouth open, and then you have the person with their mouth open. This piece of pencil lead is just not being cooperative. Hopefully, when we get to the next one, it'll be easier. I think it's also just because I'm tired, so I'm pressing down a little harder than I normally would just to make the marks. There's kind of a happy medium when it comes to pressing down on the paper when I'm doing my penciling, where I'm not pressing too hard, but I'm pressing hard enough to make the mark. It's just like I'm not doing that right now. I'm just kind of punching through it. When you're doing a hand bent like this, you have to realize that like the elbow is coming forward, but then this hand is coming back. So like the elbow gets big, but then the wrist gets small going further away because it's actually going back towards the face. Get some water. Hey, Caleb, how are you today? Didn't know if we were going to make it to the show tonight, but we pulled it together. It was a long day. This guy, we can just barely see the top of his utility belt. Give him a couple extra pouches. Maybe he needs them. Yeah, blah. I agree. Blah. Just getting done with work. Got a little sponge on his head, taking a yawn, just like he is. See, I just feel like if I had just hand lettered it, these boards it'd feel more complete. I don't know. When I do my prelims and the lettering is right on them, this feels more finished to me. And I know you would think it would take longer, but with the way I letter, I am able to get it done relatively quickly. So, like, let's say it adds an extra 20 minutes to a page, like, so be it. Oh, I forgot to do his. I think over here, because they're a step back, we're going to darken out some of this stuff. I don't think we need to leave as much room for white. I think we can basically draw his utility belt. It's kind of the last part of that. We can just black this out. And black out underneath it. Yeah, I think that'll work fine. This kind of like a boxer's nose, where it's a little busted. Caleb asked, "What age did I start drawing comics?" Really young. I remember when I was a kid. Let's see, this would have been when I was still living in Connecticut. So I don't know, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. Drawing what I thought looked like Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles and these cartoon characters that I liked. I'm sure they were just stick figures that were colored in and, like, could maybe be misconstrued for one of these characters. But yeah, and my parents saw that I liked them and that I liked drawing and stuff. But I didn't buy a comic until 1991 when I was 7. So maybe it was right around that time that I started doing more comic booky looking drawings with, like, speech balloons and things like that. But it was pretty young, and my parents weren't wild about the comic aspect of it, but they did like the fact that I like to draw. So they were supportive, and friends of the family were artists, so they would have me go hang out with them, and they would give me lessons and things like that. So, like, from an early age, I was lucky I had that support, at least for an aspect of what I wanted to do, even if they weren't too into the whole comics thing. And it just came from my folks not knowing anyone that had ever done it, or what it took to do it, and that sort of a thing. But I've always been very aware of the trappings of the comic book industry and the problems of being a professional in it. That's not, I don't have any or never had any like regular clients with the big two or anything, and it's a difficult business to make it in as far as make a living. And right now, I'm doing mostly commercial work that's not comic related, doing graphic design and stuff for the Steamship Authority of Massachusetts. And I'm doing some illustration for them too, but it's still predominantly graphic design. But that makes it so I can have health insurance and things like that. But yeah, real young, and I love drawing stupid characters. I like drawing, just stuff I saw around the house. They were terrible. Like I'm gonna be posting some of my early comics, even from when I was in college and stuff. They were bad. Um, Enthusiastic, well-meaning, but there was just very and done with like a raw exuberance. So there's an energy to them, but the level of craft is not there. And there's one book that I worked on for a number of years called Small Town Type, where there were 4 issues that I finished. And you can see in each book that I just get better. I get better and better and better. And by the time the 4th book was done and I did a special, I did a one shot, I was starting to get work. So that was the point where like I abandoned that book. And the funny thing is I did find the script I wrote in my 20s on an old hard drive for the last issue. So at some point, I would love to draw that last issue. Nobody's asking for it. I just want to do it. I've got a number of projects like that. Red Screen over on YouTube. Great art, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're working on Undersea Hero. And this is our title character, his friend Lord Krakus, a cuttlefish. He's wearing a giant gold necklace because he just came from the undersea casino. And then these are the Spongemen, or the minions of a villain named the Correlator. I think we can just shade out that whole thing. All right, it's after 9 o'clock. I am exhausted, and we got this top panel mostly done. I've got to add a couple things. What I wanted to show you was, we talked about this on the last podcast, where you use just those nice organic water shapes as a way to create depth and to create layering. And one of the ways that I do that is with these like little water like whooshes. And you can have them break off into 2 pieces. But yeah, it's a way to have it so that, in a way, even though this will be all done in like a blue or a cyan, we can have framing elements and ways to have almost like they're breaking the panel inside the panel. And then, we have our air bubbles that we do. We do them intentionally. I'm actually going to get rid of these ones as part of the composition. And in the case of these people, they're holding their breaths. So they're all like at different stages of where they need to go up and get air. And then we can always just have a little rock right there. How about just a little rock, a little seagrass. Ah, yes, the decorator crab. I know them well. They're very cool creatures. Yeah, you have saltwater tanks. That's awesome. Yeah, send me a picture sometime. I'd love to see it. I just like looking at fish tanks. There's a fish tank at the fish market I go to, and they have like a triggerfish. They have a couple of butterfly fish and some other. I think there's a couple of wrasse in there. I'll stand there and look at it for 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, we actually do have a spider crab, which is also called a decorator crab character that shows up called the spectacular spider crab. And what he does is he builds himself an automaton, like a cybernetic body, because he's obsessed with a character that I can't mention for trademark purposes, but he is very much modeled himself to be much like. But yeah, he's in the issue 0, so I think I've posted the poster image that's the center spread, and he's in the lower right in his base form. So, all right, everybody, here's our prelim. There's our penciled panel, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. We've made it to Wednesday, and thank you all for. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. It was wonderful to see everyone and to all the new people. We're here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'll probably be working on this or one of the covers next week. I got to talk to one of the publishers to see if they're cool about it, but usually they are. So everybody have a good night, and I'll hopefully see you next week. Thanks, everybody.